Yeah, Commissioners, I'm Frank Hamrick, 15666 East Lander Valley Road. I'm manager of one of the two districts that came out in opposition of the KBRA. That's not my main reason here. We have an amendment that's part of the package that's in front of you that we went through. Your decision is up to you guys. My big thought on this whole issue is that the division that it's made in the whole community. 2001 water wars brought everybody together. This KBRA as it sits has brought everybody against each other, neighbors, friends, commissioners, lame duck, to the commissioners elect. There's a lot of division, and you guys are going to have to make that decision. My main reason up here is, I guess I drew the short straw or the long straw. Commissioner-elect Tom Malms, he has a letter that I don't know if you've received a copy of or not, but if not, I'm going to read it to the crowd. I'd like to submit that to the commissioners as part of the record.
Please do. So you're leaving your
I'm leaving
own...
my statement.
Okay.
I mean, that's you guys have to decide what you want to do, if you want to continue this division or let the new guys make that.
That's great. Would you please read that into the record?
Okay, and this is from Tom Malms. He couldn't make it here, and so he asked that this be read. To the Klamath County Board of Commissioners, from Tom Malms, Klamath County Commissioner-elect. RA public comments on the KBRA proposed amendments. While the KBRA by itself began as a possible solution to a number of issues in the Klamath Basin, the current direction of the KSA and the KBRA simply do not deliver what is needed or promised. From the very beginning, success of our entire agricultural community was to be measured by attaining three achievable goals: protection of the Endangered Species Act and protection from the Endangered Species Act and biological opinions, guaranteed delivery of irrigation water, affordable power for irrigators. Within the KSA and KBRA documents consider the following. There is absolutely no protection from the Endangered Species Act or biological opinions. There is absolutely no guarantee of irrigation water deliveries, and there is absolutely no affordable power rate for irrigators. Our goals were sought after, but success was not to be found there as well. All other possible options have been completely ignored. In respect to Klamath Dam removal, this was the one and only option we were never allowed to consider in the KBRA closed-door meetings. All other verbal or written viable alternatives have continually been systematically dismissed. The citizens of Klamath County have spoken out again and again opposing Klamath Dam removal and the Klamath Basin Restoration Agreement. The very citizens of the Klamath County Board of Commissioners work the Klamath County Board of Commissioners work for have said no to this direction, most recently in the 2010 and the 2012 election cycles. Even the poorly written ballot measure 1880 voted on in 2010 showed the lack of community support for dam removal and the KBRA. This ballot measure required voters to say yes to say no to dam removal. Many voters simply thought that no actually meant no to dam removal. An agreement of this proportion should be bringing our community together, not dividing us. Our county government, having a seat at the table, has not produced required benefits, no viable concessions or compromises on water rights, no Highway 97 right-of-ways, and the list goes on and on. Again, the current direction has failed. Today, an opportunity exists to begin bringing back some of the lost trust and confidence in county government. I am asking the County Board of Commissioners to not approve the proposed amendments to the KBRA. As one of the incoming members of the Klamath County Board of Commissioners, my position is very well known. I believe in a true settlement, not a surrender agreement. It is time to represent the citizens you work for. Until the current proposals are off the table, none of the alternatives that have been completely dismissed in the past will have any chance of success in the future. Klamath County needs to go in a direction that will have the local support required and a true chance of success. Thank you for your consideration, Tom Malms.
Right. Seeing no further comments, I'll make note just to read into the record. I'm actually not going to read it, but we'll include this in our record. This was faxed to our office this morning from Linda King Clegg and Ted Clegg. Without reading the whole thing, their closing sentence is, please do not sign the proposed extension of the KBRA agreement. And so we'll include that in the record of the file as well. What I'll do now is I will turn to each of the commissioners and allow them the opportunity to speak with regard to their position, starting with our Vice Chair, Cheryl Huckel.
Okay. First of all, I am going to make a statement. I began my term 4 years ago, and I'm ending it in 6 weeks. I have never made a decision that was determined by whether it was politically correct or good for a political career. Politics is only one part of my life, and I today will not make this decision because of politics. If you have followed me the last 4 years, there's been several times I've come against the political stream, and I will continue to do so what I feel is right. There is no other agreement on the table. I feel that there has been 5, 6, 7 years that people could actually have gotten together and could have hammered out another agreement, skeleton, rough draft, whatever, but all there has been is, no, we don't like this one. We have no other agreement sitting before us. We all realize what the water wars were like. And if we want to sit back, and we've had several say, well, we don't want the government to come in and tell us what to do. Well, you know what? Adjudication, and a judge in a court is going to make the ruling. That is not local people working together. I think the KBRA was a chance for 26 people who before did not talk, began to talk to one another and began to give and take. I look at 2011. We were told around March 1st or so there would be no water. But because these groups had gotten together previously to work out an agreement, worked out, and we had some agriculture in 2011. It has worked for us. 1880, by the way, I do not believe that our electorate in Klamath County are stupid. I think they know how to read a ballot measure. And just because it did not go the way that Mr. Malams wanted it, I do not believe that it was confusing to the voters. It was 200 plus saying stay involved. That's all the citizens voted on. Please stay involved and let's see what can happen. This is a working agreement. This is not a bottom line. This is it. It is a working agreement. And because we have no other agreement to look at and say, well, A looks a little bit better than B, so let's go with it, we only have this working agreement. And the fact is that Clear Lake and Gerber Reservoir and Lost River is a part of this amendment, not requiring them to put water to the wildlife. It's a good amendment. I think putting the Klamath Basin Power Alliance together for lower power is a good amendment. And I am going to vote for the amendment. I think that this is the only agreement on the table. I think the opposing team, if they want, they need to get together. They need to put a group together. My life's going to go on, but I know that agriculture is important to this community, and I do not like the fact that the courts or a judge is going to make the determination. I like the fact, and it was mentioned by someone here, community people getting together. And this is what this is. It has been the beginning of people getting together. And I would have no problem giving 2 more years. I agree with what was stated at the national level. You know what? I am totally against the ESA. I think it needs to be done away with. I do not like the EPA, government intrusion. But you know what? We have a national flavor now that I do not see anything like that having any type of action to it. So for the fact that I began at the beginning of this approving the KBRA, because I feel that it's working, it can continue to work together. Now, if legislation doesn't pass and it doesn't, you know what, we can continue to work on something. But until then, this is the only thing on the table. And I think the power issue is very important to work on because that affects everybody. So for me, I am going to vote that we approve the amendment.
Thank you. Commissioner Schweitzer?
Well, I didn't write anything out. Right now, I think I wish I would have. But, you know, the thing that I've seen in our community is we've got friend against friend, we've got family member against family member, we've got tribe against people who claim to be okay with the tribe. You know, we've split our community, and we are continuing to split our community. The sad part about this, at least the way I look at it, is that there isn't enough water to go around. So we're fighting over how we are going to appropriate the water. We're not going to create any water. There isn't one person in this room that can make water. There's only one person I know of that can do that, and I don't think he's sitting in this room. So we're not going to make water. We can save it. We can try to store it. We can do the things that, you know, that we do. I mean, how many times have we looked at areas where the farming community has come together and said, okay, if we do this X, Y, and Z, we'll save so much water and we'll make the things work. The reason we do that is because farmers take care of the ground, take care of the land, and they take care of the resource. Now, Mr. King wanted to signal out my house for some reason, but I think people should understand. Mr. King lives on one end of Rita Road, and I live on the other. We are separated by maybe a mile, mile and a half. I've never run it, so, you know, I'm not much of a runner, but, you know, we're not separated by that far, and yet we seem to be separated by a gulf. He wants to farm, so do I. You know, I don't make my living farming, but I sure as heck would like to make my payment to Bank of America every month. I think they appreciate getting the payment. So, you know, what is the best way to get this community together? Now, 1880, you can argue that till the cows come in, but the people said stay at the table. And I actually agree with the comment that Cheryl made. I think people are smart enough to read something and know how to vote on it. Although I had a couple of those this year in the state that I had to go back and look at a couple of times. We need to stay at the table, and we need to see this thing through. Now, if it doesn't get funded, if the bottom falls out, fine, move on to the next thing. What I've not seen, and I'm not shooting at anybody in this room, but somebody, and I don't remember which one of you, because I gotta tell you, I hate doing the timing, because you end up spending more time on this than trying to listen. But somebody, you know, was starting to talk about the fact that, you know, we're apart, we're not together. Community needs to get together. And the upper basin needs to get together with the lower basin. Tribe needs to get together with everyone else. And you folks aren't doing it. I've not heard in the last 4 years anybody stand up and say, here's an alternate. This will work. All I've heard is, this doesn't work. I haven't heard any of you stand up and say, here's another plan. This is what we need to go forward with. You know, the easiest thing in politics, the very easiest thing, is to shoot at something. It's the easiest thing. You don't have to have a solution. You just go out there and shoot. Pretty simple. So my vote's going to be to stay at the table. And if somebody will come up with some alternate that's better, then that's the way we should go. But right now, we've got to get this solved. If you think waiting on adjudication is going to get you water on your farms, you haven't been watching how the adjudications are going. They're not really going in our favor. And my biggest fear was we would get down to the point where we're going to be, adjudication is what's going to determine the future of this community. The people making those decisions, they don't live here. You guys do. Guys and gals, I'm sorry. So my vote's going to be to stay in it until it absolutely just dies, or something becomes of it. I don't believe, quite frankly, that you're going to see the ESA reformed. Richard Pombo, who was an awfully good congressman in a Republican-controlled Congress with a Republican in the White House, could not get the ESA reformed. Does anybody in this room think, with the president that we just reelected, that you're going to see a reformation on the ESA? If you do, maybe Mr. King and I should sell you our land, because it isn't going to happen, folks. Just look at the political landscape. So, I think you need to be realistic. That's where my vote's going to go.